Hey, we start by taking you back in time nearly 40 years ago when massive flooding hit the valley following major snowstorms. That was back in 1983. All of our recent snow has some people wondering, are we going to see a repeat? Thanks for joining us for 2 News at 10. I'm Mark Cabell.
And I'm Heidi Hatch, somehow old enough to remember sandbagging back in '83. Most of Utah already above 150% of normal snowpack for this time of year. So what will that mean come spring? Jim Spiewak live tonight from the mouth of Big Cottonwood Canyon. And Jim, it's a little too early to tell if we will see flooding, right?
Yeah, that's according to the folks that we talked with tonight. But, you know, up here in the canyons, there's obviously a ton of snow everywhere you look. Eventually, it has to make its way down into the valley. The only question is how much and how quickly will it find its way down?
We just got completely flooded. Our property got completely flooded.
It was a property that Kathy Oyler loved, but she quickly found out how fast water can destroy.
You know, nothing prepares a homeowner for the amount of water that our property took on. And it was in a very, emotional experience to go through.
After more than a year of cleanup and figuring out what to do, Oyler sold the property.
And that's a very, very emotional process, but for me, that was the right decision to make. We just didn't want to take that risk anymore of having this happen again.
This active winter weather has built up quite the snowpack. And Zack Frankel, the executive director of the Utah Rivers Council, says that could make for ideal conditions for flooding come the springtime.
If we have a big rainstorm on top of a big snowpack, we're going to have some flooding.
So will we see an event like the flooding of 1983 that flooded State Street? Like back then, we have a really big snowpack, but Frankel says we'll need to wait and see what the weather is doing closer to peak runoff in May.
We had a very wet, cool spring, and then all of a sudden, at the end of May, the sun came out and it was 90 degrees and the snow melted very quickly.
Maybe not to the extreme of 83, but Frankel says we need to start getting used to the changing weather.
This is what our climate change future is going to keep bringing us, is extreme weather events, big flooding events.
Now, another thing to keep in mind is the soil saturation as a lot of this snow starts to melt off. And at the end of the day, if we do start to see some of these bigger flooding events in the spring, it's really not going to make a huge impact in the drought. That would be a much longer term impact and event. We're live in Big Cottonwood Canyon tonight. Jim Spiewak, KUTV 2 News.